when we stated Ohm's law in our previous class, we also understood the limitations of Ohm's law. Ohm's law is not applicable to all the substances under all conditions. It has got its own limitations that already we discussed. But let us once again study the limitations of Ohm's law graphically by considering the different substances. Say I have written one graph, current against voltage. Okay? We know that Ohm's law is applicable only for good metallic conductors and for small current. What happens if the current is increased? Say for example, I am going to consider one conductor, metallic conductor. Okay? So metallic conductor. Now in case of metallic conductor, if I increase the potential difference applied, I write one simple circuit. So this is metallic conductor, say for example copper wire, whose ends are connected to a cell or a battery. I write one arrow, it indicates that it's a variable power supply. That means we can vary the voltage from 0 to maximum. So between the two ends of the wire, we can apply different potential difference. So arrow indicates variable power supply. If arrow is not there, then it's a fixed or constant power supply. Now, suppose let us make one column, simple tabular column, voltage, current. Between the two ends of this resistor, if I apply a potential difference of, let us say, just 0.1 volt, then let the current for this be 0.2 ampere. Now again, I vary the potential difference between the two ends AB of the wire by operating this power supply. Now the current may be 0.4 amp. Again, I vary this to 0.3. Now current may be 0.6. Now you calculate the resistance in each case. What is R equal to? R is nothing but equal to V by I. So V 0.1 divided by 0.2. That means it is nothing but half. Half means 0.5. Okay? Then, now again let us divide this. 0.2 divided by 0.4 according to this relation. V is 0.2 divided by I. I means 0.4. So 0.2 divided by 0.4. Once again it is nothing but half, which is equal to 0.5. Again for this we get 0.5. That means resistance remains constant for all different potential difference. This clearly shows that the variation of voltage and current, or the variation of current with voltage, is found to be linear. How can we say that it is linear? Because resistance is remaining same in all the trials, first trial, second trial, third trial. So resistance remains constant. That means the voltage is directly proportional to the current. That means Ohm's law is applicable. Then for this type of variation, we come across a graph like this, which is a straight line. Straight line means it is a linear variation. So Ohm's law holds good. Ohm's law holds good for these values because the current are very small. We have applied a small potential difference, thereby we got small current flowing through this wire or through this resistor, thereby the resistance of this resistor remains constant. Suppose if I vary the voltage further like this, instead of applying fractional voltage, I apply a potential difference of 2 volt now. Okay? Then for 2 volt potential difference, let us say now the current may be around 3 amps. Again, now vary the potential difference to 3 volt. I increase the potential difference between the two ends to 3 volt by operating this source. Now the current may be around, let us say, 5 amps. Now if you calculate the resistance now, that is V by I, that means 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2 is 2 divided by 3, which is not equal to 0.5. So 2 divided by 3, 0.66 something we get recurring. Okay, 0.666. Then 3 by 5, 3 divided by 5. Then for this 3 divided by 5, what do we get now? 0.6 we get. 0.6. Look here 0.666, here 0.60. That means the two values are not constant. Resistance is not remaining constant because the current got increased. That means for large current, variation of I with V is not linear, it is non-linear. We can represent that by means of a graph like this. So up to this value, variation of V and I or V with I is found to be linear. So beyond this voltage, the current is increasing randomly. So therefore, the graph is found to be a straight line like this up to certain point, then it is going to deviate like this. Why should it deviate? Because the resistance value is not remaining constant, it is non-linear. So here non-linear variation, whereas this one is nothing but linear variation. So this clearly shows that at I current, Ohm's law is not applicable. So that's one of the limitation of Ohm's law. So Ohm's law is applicable for good metallic conductor provided if the current flowing through that conductor is small. At large current, Ohm's law doesn't hold good, because if you plot a graph of I against voltage, the graph is not found to be a straight line completely. It is found to be straight up to certain voltage. Beyond that, as current is increased, it is found to be curved like this, indicating a non-linear variation. So this is one limitation of Ohm's law. So we can write like this for this. And what about this graph? See, even if you reverse the current, if you reverse the potential, how to reverse the potential now? A is given, according to this figure, A is given positive potential, B is given negative potential. Now I change the polarity. I connect this one to negative, whereas this one to positive. Okay. Now, point A is said to be at negative potential. That means I am reversing the polarity, whereas point B is said to be at now positive potential because it is connected to positive. So by reversing the polarity, that means by reversing V, if we pass the same, if we apply the same voltage, then we get the same current once again. So for small potential difference and for small current, once again the variation of V with I is found to be linear. That is what we have written here. So be clear about this. So these two graph holds good for metallic conductor and even for one of the electrolyte solution like copper sulfate solution. Even for copper sulfate solution, Ohm's law holds good up to what? Up to certain limit. That means only for small current. For large current, even Ohm's law fails in case of copper sulfate solution as it failed in case of good metallic conductor. So I write one point here. Ohm's law is not applicable. Ohm's law is not applicable for conductors through which current flow is large. Because when current becomes large, the conductor gets heated up and its resistance changes, just as we have shown here. So we can write it clearly like this. See, this is nothing but linear variation, whereas this is found to be non-linear variation. Non-linear variation. Okay. Now coming to the second graph. Remember, this is for metallic conductor, this graph, and also for this graph, both for metallic conductor and as well as for copper sulfate solution. Metallic conductor and for copper sulfate solution. But condition applies. What is that condition? Only for small current. And this is for semiconductor, semiconducting device like diode. Semiconductor. What is the example for that? Semiconducting device, I consider diode. See, in case of diode, what happens? Let us write once again one simple circuit. So this is nothing but diode, PN junction diode. We study about the semiconductor. At the end of the syllabus, there is one chapter, big chapter, semiconductor and its devices. There we are going to study in detail about the semiconductors and also semiconductor devices. But for time being, let us consider only a semiconducting device like diode. PN junction diode, I say. What does it mean? PN junction diode means, look here, this device, one side consists of P-type semiconductor and on the other side consists of N-type semiconductor. Both P-type and N-type semiconductors are produced on a single piece of semiconducting crystal like germanium. Suppose if I connect this to a source, once again to a variable power supply. If P side is connected to positive and if N side is connected to negative, then we say that it is said to be forward biased. Okay. So P side connected to positive and N side connected to negative, then it is said to be forward biased. Biased means applying some potential difference between the two ends of the diode. Remember, these are the two ends of the diode. To the two ends of the diode, source is connected to apply the potential difference. And if you do the connection like this, it means that we are applying a positive voltage to the diode. Now you vary the potential difference. If you vary the potential difference, what happens means current also varies, but current varies non-linearly. Look here, from the graph itself you can find. The graph is not found to be a straight line, though it starts from origin, it is not a straight line. So it is found to be curved like this. So non-linear variation. If you go on increasing the voltage or if you go on increasing the potential difference between the two ends, V is the potential difference and I is the current. So V proportional to I is not possible. Not possible because the graph is found to be curved. Non-linear variation. Therefore, Ohm's law doesn't hold good. Now, if you reverse the polarity, that means if I connect the P side to negative of the battery and N side to positive of the battery or to the power source. So this is connected to positive and this side P side is connected to negative. So if P side is connected to negative and N side is connected to positive of the battery, then the diode is said to be reverse biased. Reverse biased. So once again, I am telling that don't worry about these biased. What is meant by forward bias, reverse bias, everything you understand when we take up the semiconductor chapter. So till then, you just understand, if you do the connection like this, then it means that we are applying positive voltage to the diode. If you do the connection like this, that means P to negative and N to positive, then it means that we are applying negative voltage. Applying negative voltage is known as reverse bias. Applying positive voltage is known as forward biased. Now again, if you vary the potential difference, then also what happens? V proportional to I is not possible. Look here, we can see the graph here. Negative current, negative voltage, because we have reversed this. We are applying a negative voltage. So negative voltage, that means negative x-axis, negative y-axis. Along negative y-axis I have taken the current, negative current. Along negative x-axis I have taken the voltage, negative voltage. Suppose if you vary the potential difference up to 0.5 volt, you are going to vary, as we varied in case of forward bias. Forward bias, we varied the voltage 0, 0.1, 0.2, like this up to 0.5. But for all this voltage, I is not proportional to V. See, linear variation means it will be like this. If you increase the voltage, current also increases proportionately. Here what is happening? By increasing the voltage, current is not increasing proportionately like this. That's why we are getting non-linear variation. So up to 0.5 volt we applied, let us assume. Again, during reverse bias, we vary the voltage up to 0.5. That means we apply negative voltage 0, 0.1, 0.2, like this negative voltage we apply up to 0.5. Even for this case also, it is found that current is not varying with voltage linearly, it is varying non-linearly. Look here, the graph is found to be a curve like this. And one more point we have to understand. During forward bias, for 0.5 volt, what is the current? 10 milliamp current. That means if I connect this one to positive, this one to negative, then it is said to be forward biased. Okay, like this. If I vary the voltage up to 0.5, then for 0.5 volt, what is the current? 10 milliamps. Now, if I reverse the voltage, that means if I connect this one to negative and this one to positive, again if I vary the voltage up to 0.5, 0.1 to 0.2, 0.3, 0.5. Look here, for 0.5 the current is 10 milliamp. Here for 0.5, what's the current? The current is found to be small. And for the reverse bias, the current is found to be small because it is measured in terms of microamps. Here current is measured in terms of milliamp. So milliamp current is larger than microamp. So for same voltage both in forward bias and as well as in reverse bias, the current values are found to be different. So if it is here 10 milliamps, here the current may be, say for example, 8 microamps. So this is another point or another factor in which we have to remember in case of semiconducting diode. First of all, Ohm's law is not applicable to semiconductor. And we are considering a particular case of semiconductor. What is that? We are considering the diode. By applying both forward voltage and reverse voltage, we are checking how the current varies with voltage. And it is found that in both the cases, it is found to be non-linear. That's first point. And the second thing is, for same voltage, we get different currents. So once again, I can write like this. Ohm's law is not applicable. Ohm's law is not applicable to semiconductors. Applicable to semiconductor. Now, I consider one more example. So, the third graph is with respect to once again a semiconducting device, nothing but gallium arsenide. As you increase V, I also increases linearly. We have studied that already here. We understood. Look here. Up to this, we are getting a straight line. If you increase the voltage, current also increases. Look here. Moving like this means voltage is increased. Moving like this in the upward direction means current is increased. Let's give one random value. Say for example, up to 0.2 volt linear variation. Now increase the voltage from 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. At 0.5 volt, this is one semiconductor. What is the semiconductor? Gallium arsenide. Gallium arsenide, and it's connected to a power source. Then voltage is varied. By varying the voltage, current also varies linearly up to this point. Then if I increase the voltage further by operating this, if I increase the potential difference applied to this gallium arsenide up to 0.5 volt, see these are all nothing but numerical values which are given randomly, just once again to make you understand. See, right from 0.2 volt to 0.5 volt, the variation of V with I is not linear. From where to where? From 0.2 to 0.5 according to this figure. According to this figure and according to the value in which we have chosen. 0.2 volt to 0.5 volt. Okay. So, non-linear variation, because we are getting a curve like this. We are not getting a straight line like this. If it is a straight line, then it would have gone like this. Not a straight line. Right from here, it is found to be curve. Non-linear variation. So, therefore, we are written right from here to here, it is a non-linear region. That means non-linear variation. Now, I'm increasing the voltage further. What happens now? I increase the voltage further 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, say for example up to 0.8 volt. Then what happens now on increasing the voltage? Look here, the graph is coming down like this. That means it indicates that as we increase the voltage, current slowly decreases. So once again here also V proportional to I is not found to be linear. Once again it is non-linear. Non-linear. Okay, from where to where? According to this figure, say for example from 0.5 volt to 0.8 volt. Then what is the difference between this non-linear region and this non-linear region? Here in this non-linear region, resistance is found to be positive because current is increasing. Current is increasing with the voltage, but it is not increasing uniformly. Means V is not proportional to I in this region. Though it is increasing, not proportional to I. So therefore in this region, resistance is found to be positive. Whereas from year to year, current is decreasing. Whereas voltage is increasing. Voltage is increased from 0.5 to 0.8 volt. So current starts decreasing. That's why in this non-linear region, we get negative resistance. So this is also non-linear, this is also non-linear. This is a non-linear region with positive resistance, this is a non-linear region with negative resistance. So that's the difference. So this clearly shows that once again for semiconductor like gallium arsenide, Ohm's law is not applicable. So for semiconductor like gallium arsenide, so Ohm's law is not applicable. So these are the explanation in which we can give graphically for different substances. So we have chosen metallic conductor and as well as copper sulfate solution, and we have chosen one semiconductor like semiconductor diode, PN junction diode, and once again one more semiconductor, nothing but gallium arsenide. So it is found that if we vary V, I varies differently in different substances. So this is how we can understand the limitations of Ohm's law graphically. See, so far we defined what is meant by conductivity and resistivity of the material of the conductor. And we also know that conductivity and resistivity are the reverse process. Conductivity means ability of the conductor to allow the current to flow. Suppose if this is the conductor, if I imagine this pen as a metallic conductor, then ability of the conductor to allow the current to pass through it is nothing but conductivity. So up to what extent it conducts the electric current. So that's nothing but conductivity. Whereas resistivity refers to opposition. How best the material of the conductor opposes the flow of the current. That is nothing but resistivity. So that's why these two are reciprocal of each other. That means they are completely opposite process. Now let us derive an expression for the conductivity and the resistivity of the material of the conductor. So once again, as I explained in the previous class, let's consider one metallic conductor. So this is one metallic conductor. Then let I consider V be the potential difference applied between the ends of the conductor. As a result of this, some current flows through the conductor from one end to another end. Because of this current, an electric field is set up inside the conductor, and this electric field now makes the free electrons to drift with a velocity Vd. So these free electrons now begins to accelerate. So while accelerating, now they move with a velocity Vd, known as drift velocity. Drift velocity and electric field are opposite to each other. Remember, current, electric field and current density all are in the same direction. Okay? Current, electric field and current density are in the same direction. Whereas drift velocity is opposite to I, E and J. So remember this point. Okay, now I consider like this. Let delta Q be the charge that flows through the conductor in a time delta T. So if delta Q is the charge that flows in a small time delta T, then I can write like this. What is delta Q now? Delta Q is equal to I into delta T. How can I write this equation? Because we know the basic definition of current. I equal to time rate of flow of charges. Either you can make use of small q or capital Q. It doesn't make any difference. Okay. If you cross multiply, then current is nothing but time rate of flow of electric charges. So delta Q is the small charge flowing in a small time delta T. If you cross multiply this, delta Q will be equal to I into delta T. But we know that from our previous previous class explanation, current is given by NAE into Vd. Current is given by NAE Vd. We derived the expression for current in terms of drift velocity. What does N refers to? N refers to number density of electrons or the number of electrons present in unit volume of the conductor. Suppose if I consider unit volume space inside the conductor, unit volume means 1 meter cube. Length, breadth, height, each side is equal to 1 meter. So 1 meter, okay. So then 1 meter, length, breadth, height, all three dimensions each equal to 1 meter. So that volume becomes equal to 1 meter cube. In this 1 meter cube volume, number of electrons that are present, nothing but N. Okay. So total number of electrons present in this unit volume is nothing but N. And what is A means? A is area of cross section of the conductor. So this is the cross section of the conductor. Okay, what is E now? E refers to charge of the electron. I written here E minus. But while writing in the mathematical expression, let us consider only its magnitude, not the sign. Therefore, I written only E. Into delta T is there. Retain that as it is. So, this is the amount of charge that flows from one end to another end of the conductor corresponding to this current. Okay. Now, you substitute for drift velocity. Let us quote here. What is the substitution made? So, because I equal to NAE into VD, this is what we have substituted here. See, but what is VD, drift velocity? Let us once again write like this. Delta Q is equal to NAE. For drift velocity, I write the expression. What is the expression now? Tau E into E by M, neglecting negative sign. Actually, it is minus. I consider only the magnitude of the drift velocity. Okay. See, negative sign indicates what? The actual equation, let us write that also. Because VD equal to minus tau E into E by M. What is tau? Relaxation time of the electrons. That means time taken by the electron for two successive collision. And what is E now? E is nothing but electric field. Okay, E is nothing but electric field. M is the mass of the electron and E is the charge of the electron. Negative sign indicates that drift velocity VD is opposite to electric field. If electric field is in this direction, drift velocity is opposite to that, which is indicated by means of negative sign. So, I consider only magnitude. I substituted for VD and delta T is there. So, retain the delta T as it is into delta T. Okay. Let us arrange this in order. N into A into tau into capital E, E into E. E into E is nothing but E square divided by M into delta T. So, this is the amount of charge that is flowing. But what is current density J? J equal to I by A, that means current per unit area. Okay. Now, also we know about J also. What is J equal to? J is equal to sigma into E. This is I divided by A. But what is I? I is equal to delta Q by delta T divided by A. Okay. We know the value for delta Q. What is the value for delta Q? Delta Q is nothing but equal to N A tau E into E square, substituted for delta Q, divided by delta T. Okay. Divided by delta T. Whole thing divided by A. A means A gets shifted to the denominator of the numerator. What is there on this side? On this side, sigma into E is there. Okay. See, what we have done means, we have substituted for delta Q as equal to NA tau E square by M into delta T. So, we have to write delta T also. Substitute for delta Q equal to this much. Then divided by delta T. Delta T is there as it is. A shifts to denominator of the numerator. Now, what are the terms that get cancelled? Delta T get cancelled. Then A and A get cancelled. What is left now? E and E also get cancelled. But here, one more term should be written here. So, don't forget what is the term? m is there. Look here, NA tau E square by m. Okay, so for delta Q, NA tau E square by m into delta T as it is there, 1 delta T is retained, and this A shift to this denominator, so it is retained as it is. So finally what is left means sigma is equal to n into tau into E square divided by m. So this is the expression for the conductivity of the material of the conductor. So expression for conductivity or equation for conductivity of the material. Then from this conductivity I can also derive the expression for resistivity. See, we know that resistivity is nothing but reciprocal of conductivity. So this is nothing but resistivity, don't forget, whereas this is nothing but conductivity. Okay, substitute. So this is equal to 1 divided by, what is sigma? Sigma is n tau E square by m. N tau E square divided by m, and this m goes to the numerator. Then finally it becomes now rho equal to m divided by n into tau into E square. So this is the expression for the resistivity of the material of the conductor. See, come back to this equation now. Mass of the electron, that remains constant, never changes. Charge of the electron also remains constant. So what is that which changes? Suppose if the temperature of the conductor changes, E and M are not going to change. Mass and charge are not going to change. Then what may change? Due to change in temperature of the conductor, number density of electron and as well as relaxation time may change. It will change. So therefore I can say that conductivity depends on the number density of electron and also the relaxation time. If n and tau changes, then conductivity changes. How can n and tau change? N and tau can change if the temperature of the conductor changes. So here conductivity is directly proportional to number density and directly proportional to relaxation time. Here resistivity is inversely proportional to number density and inversely proportional to relaxation time. So these are the two derivations, one with respect to conductivity and resistivity. Now let us define one more definition known as mobility of free electrons. Mobility means motion, mobility. Mobility of free electrons inside a conductor. It is defined as drift velocity per unit electric field. That means if I consider a conductor, then if I apply some electric field, how can we apply the electric field? Don't forget, we can apply the electric field by passing the current. How do we pass the current? By connecting the two ends of the conductor either to a cell or to a battery. That means if we apply the potential difference, if we maintain the potential difference between the two ends, if this end is maintained at positive potential and this end is maintained at negative potential, because of potential difference, current starts flowing. Now, as a result of this current, electric field is set up. Okay. Due to the electric field, now the electron experiences force. Because of the electric field, electron experiences force and they start drifting opposite to the electric field. So according to definition, drift velocity, with what velocity the electron starts drifting when we apply unit electric field. That means unit electric field means the value of E should be equal to 1 volt per meter. If we apply 1 volt per meter electric field inside the conductor, or if we set up this amount of electric field inside the conductor, then corresponding to this amount of electric field, with what velocity the electron starts drifting opposite to electric field, that is known as mobility of free electrons. So mu E, symbol used is mu. So don't get confused, this is mu, mu. Okay, whereas if I write like this, this is nu, and this is nothing but gamma. So you must be familiar with these Greek notations which are commonly used in physics and as well as some of the notations in mathematics also. Mu E, according to the definition, drift velocity per unit electric field. So this is the definition. So it is very clear that if we change the magnitude of the electric field, then the drift velocity also changes. If we change the magnitude of electric field, drift velocity changes. Whenever we define some terms in the physics, we always make use of unit value. So for definition purpose, we have taken the electric field magnitude equal to 1 volt per meter. But it did not be always 1 volt per meter. Only for the definition sake, we use that per unit electric field, what is the drift velocity. Suppose if I want to find what is the actual drift velocity, then I have to consider the actual electric field. This electric field may be greater than 1 unit. Suppose if this electric field is about 10 units, then corresponding to this whatever drift velocity the electron possesses, then the trace of drift velocity to that electric field, that becomes the mobility of the free electrons. So if we change E, drift velocity Vd also changes. And what's the unit of this SI unit? Vd, velocity, means meter per second. Okay. What's the unit of electric field? Volt per meter. Volt per meter. We shift meter to the numerator and also volt to the numerator. Then it becomes meter. Once again, one more meter. Inverse, if it goes to numerator, it becomes plus. Then per second. Then V, if we shift this to the numerator, so it becomes V inverse. So M into M means M square per volt per second. So the SI unit of the drift velocity is meter square per volt per second. Okay. So this is the SI unit. And remember, this drift velocity is a scalar quantity. See, we must know in current electricity which are the scalar quantities and which are the vector quantities. Carefully we must understand. Look here. So far we discussed too many things, too many terminologies in current electricity. Scalar quantities, let us consider now. What are the scalar quantities? So far, the terms in which we used in this chapter: charge, scalar; current, scalar. Okay. Then relaxation time, this is also scalar. Then mobility of free electron, scalar. Okay. Then resistivity, resistance, resistivity, conductivity. All these terms we have come across so far, and all these terms, physical quantities, are nothing but scalar quantities, means no direction. Then what are the vector quantities? So far we have come across vector quantities, current density, okay, electric field, drift velocity. So these are the physical quantities known as vector quantities. So don't get confused. Scalar and as well as vector, all these terms we used frequently while explaining all these terminologies. Okay, in our next class we shall discuss about the color coded resistors and also the grouping of resistors in series and parallel. Thank you.